Yo, yo. Good evening. Good evening, good evening, good evening, everybody. We are back. We are back. Another week has gone by. How's everybody doing? How was everyone's weekend? This is Everyday Celebrity Media Company. This is Sunday Rant. That's the name of the live, where you can rant and talk about any and everything. Anything you want to get off your chest. You want to put anybody on blast. This is the show to do it. Now, the title of tonight's live is Houston and Hookah. Now, last weekend, I was in Houston for the first time. And it was a very, very good experience. It was very fun. Met a lot of people. Met a lot of women. So yeah, coming from California to Houston was a big difference as far as the social night scene. Now, a lot of you guys don't know. Well, a lot of you guys do know that I live in the Bay Area, Oakland to be exact. And ever since COVID happened, things have been shutting down. So a lot of places that were here before are not here anymore. A lot of bars that were popping back in the day are gone. So it's not the same. So when you go to Houston, it's like every day out there is a vibe. The bars are crowded. The clubs are crowded. It's fucking amazing. Women everywhere. Black women too, with fat asses. And I'm not just talking about I'm talking about Brazilian type asses. Slim waist and huge thighs. Shit was amazing to me. So, we're in Houston. We're going out to all these parties and clubs and shit. And what I've noticed is every single fucking bar in Houston has hookah. Like literally everywhere. Every bar has hookah. And I'm thinking to myself, is that something? Is that the wave out there in Texas? To just sit, stare at people, smoke hookah, dance in your chair, dance on your couch. Because a lot of these places we were going didn't even have dance floors. Like the whole layout, these big, huge, wide open spaces. No dance floor, just filled with couches. Where you have to go get your little section. and you basically chill in this section with your group and smoke hookah. All of the girls are sitting on the couch with their iPhones. As soon as a little R&B song comes on, they're like rapping on the phone and shit. You know how those girls do, trying to stunt. So it was a weird vibe, because I was expecting to dance, freak on some girls real quick. So yes, it was kind of new to me, because I don't smoke, and I don't even know what the fuck hookah does to you. Like, what is the point of smoking hookah? Does it get you high? Do you feel lightheaded? Does it have nicotine in it? Is it addictive? Or is it just something to like look cool, to blow the smoke out your nose? You got this big ass pipe, looks like a genie bottle, passing this little hose around to everybody. Going on your Instagram or your Snapchat. Is it just something to stunt? That's what I'm asking. But I do recommend everyone go to Houston. That was my first time there. Met an old head. She was cool. You know what I'm saying? But yeah. Anyway, another thing I want to talk about. I was strolling through like Yahoo, right? Excuse me. I was strolling through Yahoo, and then everyone knows that we're in basketball season is going on. The WNBA, I believe, just started. And everybody's talking about Brittany Griner. Brittany Griner this, Brittany Griner that. And it's kind of annoying to hear everyone keep talking about Brittany Griner. When did Brittany Griner become like a patriot? Someone please tell me. When did Brittany Griner become this like figure that everyone needs to, when she walks in the room, she gets a standing ovation? That makes no sense to me. All you guys know, if you don't know what I'm talking about, Brittany Griner is a WNBA player. Bitch is like 7 feet or some shit. Looks like a man. Wants to be a man. She goes over to Russia, I believe, to play basketball during the off season, which what a lot of WNBA players do. When their season is over, they go overseas to play. They sign contracts to keep the money going. So she goes over to Russia. She's in the airport, and she gets caught with, I believe, not actual weed, but like the liquid form of weed. Now, once again, I'm not a smoker, so I don't really know the exact terminology of what you guys call it. But she gets caught with it. And what makes this a big deal is in Russia, it's illegal. Now, I'm assuming she knows this because this is not her first time in Russia. She goes to Russia all the time. to play for the team there. So she knows all the rules. She gets arrested. Now, one thing I would disagree with is Russia, the harsh sentence that Russia gave her was crazy. I think they gave her like a few years just for a couple capsules of weed. So she gets caught. She goes to jail. She's in prison. Now, when she got caught, she had dreads. She had to cut her dreads. She's in this camp doing like hard labor. Now, in the camp, like fucking security video was leaked of her in the camp. People talking to her nice and shit. So it wasn't like where she was like rats and shit were running around. But still, it was prison in Russia. And she was in there. She got sentenced for a few years, and she was in there for a minute. But everyone was like, yeah, bring her home, bring her home, bring her home. This is fucked up and all this other shit. But I'm like, yo, listen. I've traveled many places, right? I've traveled around the world. And when you go somewhere, you have to abide by other people's rules. Like, I can't go to my friend's house and if I knock on the door and I walk in and my friend's like, oh yeah, you got to take your shoes off. I can't be like, nah, I don't feel like taking my shoes off. I'm not taking my shoes off. I'm walking in the house. No. You have to abide by his rules. Take your shoes off or don't come in. So, knowing this, why would you have that shit on your person knowing it's illegal? And knowing that it's Russia of all places. So she's in there. The president's trying to get her out. Fucking Dennis Rodman's trying to get her out. NBA players are trying to get her out. Actors, activists, everyone's trying to get her out. So what Russia does, they're like, yo, they know damn well we don't really want this bitch. It's weed. But they're going to leverage her to get something that they want. So they trade in. The United States makes a negotiation, a trade, Brittany Griner for this big arms dealer from Russia. Now take that into account. Brittany Griner, who's a WNBA player, and we let go at I guess he was on the FBI's most wanted list, I believe. He was an arms dealer. Provided weapons to countries to kill. And he was one of the best. And the United States had him in our possession. He was locked up. And what did Russia do? They say, you give us back him, and we'll give you Brittany Griner. Even though Brittany Griner committed the crime, we're going to give you this nigga who can get out and then cause trouble and mass destruction. And that's exactly what happened. The United States folded by the pressure of the woke society. And Russia got what they wanted. And now Brittany Griner is like held as some like patriot, like, oh, you're a brave person. I'm like, no, you went over there, you did something stupid. You know what I'm saying? No one was crying for me when I got caught doing what my little dirt that I used to do back in the day. I'm a true believer of if you do the crime, don't do the crime if you can't do the time. Like if you do something, if you get caught, like that's it. Suck it up and take your punishment as a man. And she's in the news again because, I mean, I guess they had their first game today. And the national anthem came on and she stood up. And she was like, she made a statement like, the national anthem means a little bit more to me now. What? Now all of a sudden, the national anthem is something to you. Now all of a sudden, seeing the flag is something to you. Before you went, the national anthem wasn't shit because niggas was kneeling. Niggas was kneeling and niggas researched what the national anthem really meant. The original words in the national anthem. Niggas researched it. And didn't give a fuck about the national anthem. You were included in that. So I just don't think she should be held as some like fucking hero. That everyone is trying to portray her as. So yeah. Don't do the crime if you can't do the time, people. Jail, prison, not a fun place. Not a fun place. Just ask Jeffrey Epstein. Speaking of Jeffrey Epstein, he's in the news again. Obviously, he's dead. And everyone knows about the conspiracy theory, all the conspiracy theorists out there, which I agree with. I don't think he committed suicide. I think he was murdered because he knew too much. The people he hung out with were too powerful, and the shit that they were doing was too crazy. Fucking little girls. And if he would have talked, it would have been damaging to a lot of powerful people. Just think of Epstein Island and what was going on that island and who was going to that island. Just look at the log records of the plane that was flying back and forth. Bill Clinton was in there. Bill Clinton was going to that island all the time. Donald Trump, the motherfucking, I don't know what he is, the prince or the duke, one of them powerful people over there in England. They got a picture of him with this little 16-year-old girl after the club, all sweaty. And he tried to say that he never even met the girl, and then the picture came out, caught him red-handed in the act. So Jeffrey Epstein. Let me see if I can find this article. Hold on. Okay, so Jeffrey Epstein threatened to reveal Bill Gates' alleged affair with a Russian bridge player. What the fuck is bridge? Okay, so the article says Jeffrey Epstein threatened to expose Bill Gates over an alleged affair he had with a Russian bridge player in her 20s. Convicted pedophile Epstein, who killed himself in jail in 2019, wanted Mr. Gates to support a charity he set up. Mr. Gates, who was 67 at the time, refused to do so, and then Epstein threatened to expose the affair unless he cooperated. That's what the Wall Street Journal reported. Wow. Okay, so the nigga was trying to blackmail Bill Gates. Yeah, Epstein had dirt on all these niggas. Epstein had dirt on Bill Gates. He had dirt on Bill Clinton. He had dirt on Donald Trump. And I guarantee, when I say dirt, I guarantee he had videos. I guarantee he had videos of them doing shit that they weren't supposed to with underage people. That's why he was killed. And the government was going to try to get it out of him too. And you have a white man, privileged at that, rich as hell, in prison. Can you imagine going from the lifestyle Epstein was living with, own private islands, private jets, helicopters, the fanciest food, the silkiest of cloth on your skin, freedom, power, and then going to prison, sleeping on that prison bed in that little cell? You don't think he's going to fold to get out? When the FBI comes up to him and be like, hey, listen, I know you were around Donald Trump and Bill Clinton. What were you doing with them niggas? Did they participate in the shit that you were doing? Did you provide little girls to them? If you give us something, we'll cut 10 years off your sentence. What do you think he's going to do? He's going to be like, hell yeah. Hell yeah, I got a video of Bill Clinton. You know what I'm saying? It's in my closet. In the apartment on 4th Ave. Saying I got pictures of Donald Trump. They're in a safe. I'll give them to you. Give me time served. And then the fact that the article just came out that he was trying to blackmail Bill Gates to give him some money for something. That just proves that. So I definitely believe that they murdered that dude. They didn't want that information getting out. High players, high stakes, man. Money talks. Powerful people. If things get out, it will change the world to some people. Saying you got to have that image. Society, just as well as people, have to have an image, because if the truth comes out, all hell's going to break loose. What else is going on in the world? Daniel Penny. You guys know about Daniel Penny? Daniel Penny, the white dude who choked the black guy on the subway, killed him. I don't believe it was murder, because a lot of you guys don't understand murder. You have to prove that he had intent to walk. When he walked out the door to get on that train and kill somebody. That's kind of hard to prove, because there's no way that you can prove that he knew that that guy was going to be on that subway that day. So that's kind of a hard thing to prove in court. So a lot of DAs don't even, when shit like that happens, especially with the cops and shit. That's why a lot of cops don't get charged with murder when they kill these innocent, unarmed people. So they go for the lesser charge, a lesser charge that they can prove easily by definition, which is manslaughter. And I believe that's what he is charged with. So he gets on the subway, and the guy that he choked was a black guy who was like this street performer. And a lot of people say that he was a menace to society. I'm talking about the guy who was killed. A lot of people were interviewing and said, yeah, he was a menace to society. Everyone knows him from the street, from the subways. He used to run around, torment people and shit like that, cause trouble. Now, he doesn't deserve to die, obviously. But he gets on the subway. Eyewitnesses said that he got on the subway. He was yelling at everybody, saying that he needed food. He was ready to die and all this other shit. And then Daniel Penny, Jordan Neely, that's the dude's name, the guy who died. Daniel Penny put him in a chokehold. Now this is where it gets tricky. Why were you choking the man for that long? Answer that question, Daniel. Why were you choking the man? Now, I get on public transportation a few times. I got on subways a few times. A lot of times, actually. Still do. And I see homeless people, crazy people yelling all the fucking time on the train. I just sit there, mind my own business. As long as they don't come up to me and fuck with me or put their hands on me, you can do whatever the fuck you want. Now, Daniel Penny thought that since this guy was yelling, gave him the right to put him in a chokehold for an extensive amount of time that caused them to not breathe and die. So I believe that's like an open and shut case to me. Like, there's no reason for, if a guy's just yelling on a train, he's not hitting anybody. He wasn't even yelling at you. You want to be Captain Sava and run behind him and grab him. And obviously, since he's white, the victim is black. You know what that means. The media is going to make it a racial thing, which I don't think in this situation is. But Daniel Penny said in an interview, he said it's comical that people are trying to make it about race because he loves everybody. He said he's not a vigilante. He's a normal guy who always does what he think is right. So the nigga thought killing somebody for coming on a train and yelling at people, he thought death was right. He thought that man deserves to die. Because when you put someone in a chokehold, obviously, everyone knows what a chokehold is doing. You're taking away his ability to breathe. So if you're doing that, you know something's going to happen. If you're doing it for a long period of time, you know dude can die. That's why when you get in fights, you got to be careful when you fight these days. Because you can hit if you get in a fight, you can hit someone. Let's say you're more stronger or more skilled than the other person who you're fighting. You can hit someone in the head, and you can hit them so hard that, I mean, they can die. When you go on the internet and you see all these like TikTok and Twitter, and you see all these videos of like all these street fights, people fighting after the bar, after the club. And the shit is crazy. They're like stomping on people's heads, kicking them, jumping people, throwing up against cars. And I was just thinking to myself, yo, there's going to be a time where you're hitting someone, you knock someone down on the ground, then what does everyone want to do when you're fighting somebody and they fall on the ground? What do? You start kicking them. Kicking them in the head. There's going to be a time where you fuck around and kick somebody and they're going to die. And I know firsthand knowledge of that because there was these two dudes in my high school. I ain't going to say their names. And the situation, that's exactly what the situation happened. These two dudes that I knew, star football players at my high school, went to a party. There's a white boy at the party. You know how white boys act when they're drunk. They say stupid shit. You get a white boy mad enough, what are they going to call you if you're black? They're going to call you the N-word. Well, that wasn't a smart thing to say. So the white boy calls one of the dudes the N-word. Now, these are two big-ass football players. Had scholarships, committed to UCLA. I think one of them committed to, like, some other college in Nevada or some shit. So they had a future. The white boy calls him the N-word, and next thing you know, they start fighting. The football player, the black dude, punches him. Now these are big dudes, like I said. White boy falls on the ground. They start kicking him. He goes unconscious. Ambulance comes. Takes him to the hospital. The nigga has brain damage in the head from getting kicks in his head. He ends up dying at the hospital. Now, the football players didn't intend to kill him. I mean, they were just fighting like everyone else does. Teenagers, they're fighting. He doesn't know his power and his strength. When you fall on the ground, you get kicked. That's what everyone does. They didn't know he was going to die. But the force of a kick to the head, that's deadly. And I see that shit all the time online. So you have this kid who's dead. You have these two football players who beat him up. So what do you think happened? They get charged with manslaughter. Go to prison. And their life is ruined. Now, this happened in... They're out of prison, obviously, now. Because this happened in 2000... No, this didn't even happen in 2000. This happened in 1990... I think 1998 or 1999. So they're out of prison now, but the point is, the niggas had scholarships to like UCLA to play football. Probably would have been in the league. But this is like a normal story. I'm pretty sure there's a shit ton of stories like this that happen to people making small mistakes, not realizing what they do because they're so caught up in the moment. And next thing you know, they kill somebody because they punched him too hard. But I don't think that's the situation with this nigga, Daniel Penny. Because when you're choking somebody, when a nigga stops moving, you should know, like, oh, I'm going to let him go. And choking is different from a kick to the head or a punch. Choking somebody, that's like a slow death. It takes some time for them when you have them in that choke. It takes some time for them to stop breathing. So you have time to think. The nigga might be struggling trying to get out the chokehold. The next thing you know, all of this becomes, and then next thing you know, he's like, you're raising his hand, it's falling like this. You're raising his hand, it's falling like this. The nigga is dead. So at some point during all this, you should have been like, okay, yeah, well, he's calming down, so I'm going to let him go. But no. He kept choking him. And then just got up. Got off on his station. Got questioned by the police. Police let him go, which is crazy. And then they didn't want to, I think the DA or something at first didn't even want to press charges. Until there was like a public outcry. But yeah. So yeah, we'll see what happens with Daniel Penny. You know what I'm saying? That's a horrible way to go out. Gotta protect yourself these days. People are going crazy out here. Breaking in cars. fighting. Mm. And my Lakers, man. My Lakers are about to get swept. That's another thing I'm mad about. These niggas are about to get swept. Right when we had it. We had it. We were this close to doing the impossible. We were so close to go to the championship. If we would have got past Denver, it was guaranteed because Miami damn sure wasn't beating us. Boston wasn't going to beat us. LeBron James is Boston's kryptonite. But just like boxing, it's all about matchups. And we match up horribly with the Denver Nuggets. These niggas got somebody raw in every position. They got Jackson sitting on the bench. He doesn't even play. He was a starter a few years back. I think for the Clippers. He was on the Clippers scoring like 20 points a game, and he's just sitting at the end of the bench. He doesn't even play. That's how deep they are. You know what I'm saying? We got Scottie Pippen Jr. on the bench. That's what we got. We can't fuck with them. But 2016, you niggas didn't believe LeBron can do it. Hopefully he can find a way. Peace, y'all.